What does peace mean to you? When you think of it, do you think of it as being tranquil, an absence of a disturbance in your being? Or do you feel it and see it and invoke it as a fiat? Peace, be still. Let us hear from Archangel Michael on what peace is and what peace is not. I share now with you from the Bridge to Freedom series, Book 4. This was published in 1958. Silence and peace are not lethargy. And our beloved Archangel Michael says to us, however, a placid outside does not always signify a placid inside. I'm sure many of us can relate to that, where we like to give forth what we call our best poker face and not let anyone see our emotions, but while we experience turmoil internally. I know I've experienced that. He says, so let us endeavor to make and keep ourselves always placid within, calm and peaceful of heart, physically, ethically, mentally, and emotionally, God controlled at all times. Now, mind you, I do not mean that you should be lethargic. I mean to be constantly and divinely alert and at peace. Now, in the name of Almighty God, I charge you individually with the capacity and power to stand serene and poised in the earth, that God can control every person, place, condition, and thing at your call, knowing as well that my presence is always with you, that my life is coursers to command, for I am the servant of your spiritual self. So peace is not lethargy. Is peace tranquility? We're going to take a little bit of a different approach today in this teaching, where I've not focused on predominantly one pearl of wisdom, but I actually moved through multiple pearls from our beloved Aloha and peace. And I will share that my relationship with these Elohim has changed as a result in what peace, my understanding of peace has become. And I'll also share with you that the Master's timing is always so awesome to me, in that I had this thought drop into my mind many, many months ago that I should pull together a sermon about peace. And then the Masters decided that there should be something before this. And I can tell you that in that time, the thrust of what I envisioned the message would be has changed considerably. So we'll start with volume 21 in the Pearls of Wisdom, number 26. 3 rings of peace and a two-edged sword. This hit me right between the eyes. Peace is the original power of the Godhead. So this comes back to my question, what does peace mean to you? And I certainly envision peace as being an inner serenity, a calm, an ability to follow the direction of Archangel Michael that I just shared, to have that placid calm and peace within, knowing that God is in charge of everything. But I never considered peace, as Elohim peace says here, the original power of the Godhead. And then that caused me to think further about how we might think collectively as Jesus, as the Prince of Peace. Yes, Jesus is the Prince of calm, of serenity in the midst of the storm. But think about Jesus as avatar of the age of Pisces, Pisces being God mastery. And that mastery is, of course, the power of peace, the power of being at one with God when things are in commotion all around you, and also to send forth that word, peace, be still, and know that there will be a response. So I'll move now into Pearl of Wisdom, volume 31, number 45. The power of Elohim to reverse the downward spirals of a planet. Elohim of peace, I am that I am, our legion's minister by the power of peace, strengthening, revivifying, intensifying in all who dare to make the call, the profound power of peace that is in the eye of God in the great central sun. You should know the meaning of peace, beloved. In the stillness of the vortex of light. Now imagine that. A vortex is a whirling mass. So imagine this whirling crystal light that is God. In the stillness of the stillness in the vortex of light, there is a suspension of power. And in a moment to enter the swiftly moving spiral, moving by the speed of light and beyond, that motion, beloved, is contained alone by Elohim. So vision that ability to move into the very vortex of light that is God. That is the energy of God. It is the power to reverse the downward spirals of a planet. The power is in Elohim. It is in cosmos. It is in the central sun. When millions invoke a minute portion of our power, when millions invoke it, a minute portion of our power may pass through the embodied supplicant, and thus by having millions of coordinates in the physical universe, the work of God is accomplished. Now think a little bit about that ratio, right? Millions of coordinates in Earth to invoke a minute quotient of the power of Elohim. And now think about the chaotic state in the world and what's been unfolding these past weeks. And do you think maybe we might fall short of the millions mark? I think we could probably make a greater impact on instilling peace if we were to increase those numbers, those millions of points of light to send forth a greater and greater quotient of that quality from the hearts of beloved Elohim, peace and aloha. And as I was contemplating that, it led me to consider our own outreach and how we work with our loved ones in our family and our communities and beyond. As we want to evangelize the teachings of the Ascended Masters. And we know that not everyone embraces those teachings in the way that we do, and that sometimes they're in a place that we don't always want to go with those close to us, because sometimes there can be disagreement. But what brought my mind, what came to my mind here is, as I contemplated what peace says, the original power of the Godhead, we can take that pearl of light, if you will, and share it for others to contemplate. And what Jesus was is Prince of Peace, not only that example of serenity in the midst of chaos, but also peace is power. As he calmed the seas of Galilee, peace, be still. So why can't we invite our brethren from other spiritual paths to start to recognize that not only was Jesus that quiet peace, but he was also that powerful peace. And we can invoke that peace in his name to calm the chaos, the winds on the Sea of Galilee and the parts of the earth where they're unfolding. I invite you to do that where the opportunity arises. I'm coming back now to volume 21, number 26, where peace says to us, peace is the original power of the Godhead. He goes on to say, I am the guardians of the flame of peace. In the oneness of our peace, in the oneness of the flow of our love, do mankind pursue the flame of the Prince of Peace. And there's that reference to Jesus again. Of the archangel and archai of peace, the legions of Uriel and Aurora, legions of peace bearers. Our peace is peace with honor. And what does that mean? Honor is an adherence to what is right or to a conventional code of conduct. It's not malleable, it's resolute. Our peace is peace with honor. Therefore, we do not hesitate to raise the sword of peace in defense of our peace. That sword is golden liquid light shining in the sun of our Christ consciousness. It is a two-edged sword that defends the consciousness of the Christ, that cleaves asunder the real from the unreal, that opposes, cleave asunder the real from the unreal. Thus, as knight champions of old held the sword of peace, so we hold that sword in our right hand to deflect all that opposes peace with honor. The brilliance of this sword, as it reflects the Christ light, is so great that all before whom it is held must capitulate to the energies of peace. Now, to capitulate means to surrender. So as that sword comes down, it cleaves asunder the real from the unreal. And the unreal must capitulate to the flame of peace. Now, in my spiritual practice, I have certainly wielded the sword of white fire, the blue fire sword of the first ray. I have not wielded the sword of peace and aloha, but with this teaching, you can believe that I will begin to use it to cleave asunder the real and the unreal, so that all that is not of the light will capitulate to the power of God peace. He goes on to say, the flame of peace is the power to overcome all that is unlike peace. The flame of peace is like unto the flame of love. To be enjoyed, it must be shared with man, with God, with Christ, with angels and elementals, with father, mother, son, and daughter. The oneness of love is the sharing of peace. The oneness of peace is the sharing of love. Now, can you see and feel that synergy where you are in a vibration of love, you are in a vibration of peace? And when you are in a vibration of peace, don't you feel the vibration of love? Let's move now into volume 40, number 45. Enter into the heart of peace. So you see, peace is not necessarily a condition, but it is a power to hold the forces of the sun. Let me repeat that. It is not necessarily a condition. So it's not an emotion and it's not a condition. It is the power to hold the forces of the sun. Take this to heart, beloved, he says, for to hold such power, you must be God-centered. Now think about that, the forces of the sun. The forces of the sun where reside our beloved Helios and Vesta. Just think of the magnitude of that power. And so, precious ones, let peace abide at many levels. And may you imbibe that peace and know that when you knock upon the door wearing your seamless garments, it is the Christ your Lord who shall open it. He shall open and you shall enter, never more to go out again. For you have truly embodied the flame of the Prince of Peace. And as much as the world has called for it, move in the flame of peace, beloved, for this is truly the joy of God. Moving now to volume 45, number 41. We bid you keep the flame of peace. Ho! Let peace be proclaimed in every heart. True peace. A thoroughness of peace that you have not yet invoked. Not a surface peace that can crumble in a moment, but a profound communion with Elohim of peace. Those who are pillars of peace in the earth establish the antidote for terrorism. Now, where are we now? What is unfolding in the world? Terrorism is a lie. All that moves against life and victory and joy and the coming of the Lord Christ. All of this, these forces of terrorism would negate. Let them be stopped by the right hand of God in answer to your call. So we are not looking to appease, for peace at any cost is appeasement, and we do not wish to appease the forces of darkness. We wish to invoke the power of peace to consume that darkness. Peace goes on and says, you are instruments. You connect the hierarchy of light to those who walk the streets of the planet in every nation. When you tap in your mind's eye, this one and that one, and say in your heart, let this one know peace this day. And continue that prayer of Elohim of peace. You will come to understand, beloved, that peace is the greater power, that war cannot stand except by human free will. Now, what is your free will? Is your free will to have peace and a golden age? Or is it your free will to continue to see these discordant energies unfold across the planet? That is our choice. It is our free will choice. And peace continues. And the vast millions upon Earth who are engaged in war, argument at the personal level, the planetary level, these are the ones who then manifest that consciousness of anti-peace. Now let us understand what is the empowerment of those who walk the earth in the flame of peace, who guard the peace and will not allow it to be broken in themselves or in others present. The journey of peace, beloved, is a journey of many thousands of miles. Peace is the wrapping of the planet in the swaddling garment of aloha. Rejoice, rejoice, beloved, when you have conquered the forces of anti-peace. So you can see, as I mentioned a moment ago, the awe of the masters and the masters' timing. And as I said, that when I originally had the thought to bring forth the teaching on peace, it was nothing like it materialized, nothing as it manifests. And how amazing the timing of the masters to guide us to these pieces in their pearls of wisdom, where they are talking about the power of peace and the need to invoke that power of peace to swallow up the darkness and force it to surrender to the light. And it was interesting to me in that dictation to hear about the relationship between honoring life and war. And when we consider in our own nation of America, the burdens upon us and the battle that we are in over the sanctity of life from conception to natural death, in how our leaders who are tasked with keeping us safe are not fulfilling their responsibility as leaders. So let's move now into volume 21, number 16. I came not to send peace, but a sword. And this is from our beloved Aloha. Every one of you who has lost that peace for a moment, an hour, or a day has contributed in ways small and great to war, to crime, to murder, to mayhem, to cataclysm, and to death of these little ones. Now, think about that for a moment. We all have our moments where we do lose our peace and we argue with loved ones. We get angry at people on the, we get people that are driving, when they cut us off or they do something that annoys us on the roadway, people that we work with, people that we come into contact in any part of our life. And consider, if you will, we are responsible for that. And we are contributing to that all over the globe, and we will be held accountable. So we must mind our peace and be more mindful of that which we send out, because as much as we want, as much as we know that our good works and our decrees circle the planet and consume the darkness, well, when we lose that peace, we are negating the good work that we're doing. So let's be ever more mindful of that. And coming back to our beloved Aloha. Every one of you who has lost that peace for a moment, an hour, or a day has contributed in ways small and great to war, to crime, to murder, to mayhem, to cataclysm, and to the death of these little ones. When you hear the judgment of the Elohim of peace, you will hear, "Thou hast been weighed in the balance, thou hast been found wanting." When you hear the coming of Elohim, you will know that indeed the sword is the most precious gift of peace, for it is the means whereby you are cut free from that which is less than peace. Peace, peace, peace. Activate for peace, demonstrate for peace, walk the earth for peace. Preach the gospel of the kingdom of God for peace. Let peace start in the center of the chakras. Let it begin the rising action as the light of the mother. Let the worlds of mankind tremble and quake. Let there be disturbance. Let there be upheaval, for this is peace. Now, when I consider the words of aloha here, I don't consider them in the form of suddenly giving permission for anarchy of chaos, but rather to have that disturbance within our own being and throughout the planet that tells us, no, we've got to cast off these forces of anti-love, because only by doing that will we be in the power of God peace. Again, let the worlds of mankind tremble and quake. Let there be disturbance. Let there be upheaval, for this is peace. Let mankind be disturbed, and let them not think that in their self-righteousness, their self-holiness, their quiet voices, and their imitation of churchianity, that they have attained peace. And the fallen ones in their smug sophistication, who are unmoved at the plight of the poor, they think they have peace, but they have it not. Where there is rumbling, where there is disturbance, there is the chemicalization that will result in peace through and through, from the depths to the heights of the consciousness. Now, this is a very small portion of that pearl. And again, this is volume 26, volume 21, number 16. And I would invite you at your leisure to read the entire pearl, because the first half of it is from Beloved Peace, and the second half is from Aloha. And we have that synergy of the masculine and the feminine ray. And you can feel the difference in the delivery of that message. And I will tell you that as I read the words from each and feeling that vibration, when I read the words of peace and meditated on them, I felt like I was being given what for. And then when I read the words of aloha, I felt that motherly love coming in to console and encourage. So I invite you to read this again, volume 21, number 16. So let's move now into Pearl, volume 32, number 14, the Chalice of Elohim. From the sixth heaven, we are come to deliver the power of peace. And this power, beloved, is the great light of the sixth heaven. By that heavenly light, O blessed ones, be now conferred in light by hope with peace, by faith with peace, by charity with peace. Peace is the all-consuming fire of the flaming sword that does devour war and the warlords and the hordes of war. Now moving to volume 45, number 41. Peace in the earth must begin with every individual. Now then, we are focused very much on world conditions. But if the world conditions are to change, peace must live in the heart of those who expect to make their ascension in this life. Peace is a tremendous power. Peace is the power of all the oceans, the seas, the waters of the earth, and of the mountains and of the landed areas. Peace abides in every rock, within the depths of the earth, even to its center. Without peace, beloved, without Elohim of peace, this planet would long ago have disintegrated. So it is a most important quality. We bid you keep the flame of peace. Peace in the earth must begin with every individual. When you hold that peace, the forces of anti-peace will attack you in your sanctuaries in the night when they awaken you. You will not escape the forces of anti-peace once you have determined to make war against them. Therefore, join forces together, band together, determine that the power of peace shall surely devour the powers of anti-Christ, anti-peace. And I can witness to this message from peace just in bringing this teaching forth this day, because it at every turn seemed every day there were energies coming from all directions that challenged not only my ability to keep my peace, but also to work on and bring this teaching together. But the master always shows up, and the master makes it happen. And now we come into volume 45, number 41, Conquering the Warring in the Members. So keeping in mind the dictation that we just heard about giving those things which are holding us back to our beloved Elohim, the message continues here. I ask you to do your dweller calls on the dweller on the threshold of yourself that manifests anti-peace and causes the warring in your members. Let there be an exorcism. Let those of you who understand the Elohim of the seven rays realize that when you come into our presence, we can empower you. We will empower you. Yet we cannot empower some sense of the power that is within you, which is awesome, which you would not even think of violating. When you cease to violate the peace within your temple, you will join the Prince of Peace in the lineage of Sanat Kumara. You will tarry long time with Padmasambhava until you have mastered the living flame of peace. Many think that if they cry, Lord, Lord, to their Savior, they may come into his presence and live with him for aye. But it is not so, beloved. You cannot become a veritable Chela of Jesus Christ if you have not conquered the warring in your own members. Thus, we come to remind you of this, even to admonish you. So here we come back to the teaching that vicarious atonement, as it is delivered in the modern day churches, is not a real path. It is not the way home. Jesus can't do this for us. None of the masters can do it for us. We have to do it on our own. Now we'll move into one last pearl. Volume 51, number 10. Pour out the radiant golden oil of peace. So as we go into this final excerpt, let us consider what we have learned or what's been refreshed in our minds and our hearts today about peace is the original power of God. How the Elohim are there and have invited us to surrender those things that are not of peace within us. And earlier, if you were able to join us during the segment prior to our main service, the dictation we heard from peace, planting that pavilion within our hearts, and that the master always gives us avenues back to them, to petition them, to invite them in to help us conquer. So here peace says to us, peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. He's giving us his power. Peace is giving us his power. We of the Elohim are happy to just be the embodiment of a quality of God that belongs to the Father of life. The fires of God's love have long since burned away any any discontent or any quality of shadow from those of us who serve from heavenly realms. We are alone, all one in the radiant light. We have externalized the qualities that we are to the fullest extent of our God-free beings. The quality of peace is a living thing. Now think again. Peace says to us, my peace I give you. When Jesus was with us, the Prince of Peace, my peace I give you. I leave you peace. I leave you my power. I leave you the teachings. The quality of peace is a living thing. It is only fitting, therefore, that as you have the protection of Lord Michael, so you should have my peace surrounding you at every moment of the way. It cannot be promised to you that you shall not at times feel the lash, because you are yet unascended beings, of conditions that seem to be an attempt to rob you of the quality of peace. I think we can all relate to that, right? We have such wonderful intentions, and then there are times that we slip and that rug is pulled right out from under us. And peace says to us, but I ask you in such moments to lift up your eyes to the zenith of heaven and visualize a beautiful golden orb at the zenith of the sky, and to call to your beloved mighty I am present, saying, beloved mighty presence of God, which I am in me, and beloved Elohim of peace, from the zenith of the heavens, pour out the radiant golden oil of peace unto the horizon of my world, to the 360 degrees of the circumference of my being that extends to the borders of time and eternity. Fill the circle of my world and the worlds of all children of the light with such an effulgent light and love as is the manifest power of the Elohim of peace, that no dissonance or any other variant of peace can manifest where I am in the heart of peace. And the answer to the Master's command that he gave to the Sea of Galilee, peace be still, will be recognized as issuing from me as the representative of the qualities of God's peace. In the name of God, I am tranquility evermore, evermore, evermore. Peace abide with you always. Beloved Elohim, peace. Beloved Elohim, aloha. Jesus, Prince of Peace. Thank you for bringing these words, these reminders to us today, and helping us to understand the power of peace, the need for peace. And let every one of us go forth this day and use that God power, become that God power. And in the coming days, we will see a cessation of terrorism. We will see a cessation of war. We do not need to know the whys or the hows, for God is in control. And while there will be differences of opinion how these things shall unfold, without knowing the hearts and the minds of man, for we are undescended beings, we must agree to disagree, embrace one another, send forth peace to this and that and every one, and know that the power of God peace will rescue us from all of this unrest. My peace I give to you. God bless you.